Hi, now we are going to talk about something quite advanced, and this can be a bit complicated, so if necessary repeat this video. We are going to talk about 2D arrays. Arrays can be extended to multi-dimensional arrays, 2D, 3D, 4D and so on, but we are going to cover only 2D arrays. The concepts are the same. You can extend it to a 3D array, but out of scope for this course. So what are 2D arrays or two-dimensional arrays? Right, remember an array is a list of items, and each element in the array has an index. Check this out. What I'm doing here is I'm creating an array. Okay, use this first square brackets and the last square bracket. Basically means that whatever is in between will be the array elements. Now this is the first element in the array, index 0. This is the second element in the array, index 1, third element index 2, and the last element index 4. Realize that I'm actually creating an array of arrays. The elements in this slot is itself an array. It's not an integer, it's not a string, it's not a boolean, it is an array itself. So probably I want to show that situation in a pictorial format. It looks like this. This is the index 0 here. The first element with index 0 in A, in this array called A, consists of an array apple, comma, watermelon. The second element, index 1, is another array orange, comma, lemon. Third element, banana, comma, lime. Fourth element, durian, comma, chiku. Okay, you can view this as a table. A two-dimensional array can be viewed as a table. How do I actually access the elements? Now in this case, A0 will refer to this array. A1 will refer to this array. If you want to access apple only, it will be A00. You want to access watermelon is A01. Row first, followed by column. RC. Just remember row, column. So lemon is actually 1 1. A11. Banana is A21. Alright. Now let's try this out. I'm copying this, and in Interactive Ruby I'm pasting the thing, enter. So I hit A. You can see this is the first element, index 0. Okay, if I do something like A0, I'll get an array itself. Okay, what about, let me check my, take a look at this. Okay, what about A1? I get the second element, which is also an array. So if I want to access lemon, it will be A11. 1 1 lemon. Okay, basically you are going into the second element of the array, which is this one, and then this array itself, I'm accessing the second element, which is this one. Alright, another example here, A30 is going to be durian. This one, 30 durian. Okay, so this is a 2D array. It can be viewed as a table. What I've done here is the same as this chunk of code. So I can actually create the same situation, the same set of values stored in A. I create an empty array A, and I'm inserting. Remember, this operator actually inserts elements to the back. I'm inserting an array behind, a second array, a third array, and a last array. Now this chunk of code does the same thing as this single statement. Alright, so one important thing to note is what's the difference between A0.length and A.length. Remember, the dot length tells you the number of elements in this array A. So in this case, A.length is going to give you 4. Why? Because there are only 4 elements as far as the first dimension is concerned. This is the first element, second element, third element, the fourth element. So there are actually 4 elements. That's why a dot length is 4. What about a0 dot length? Now a0 dot length, this is a0. A0 dot length gives you number of elements in A0, which is 2. You will get the same for A1 dot length, and A2 dot length, and A3 dot length. Okay, you try A4 dot length, there's no such thing. Why? Because A4 is new. A4 is new, and nil has no length. Nil has no length. It's like you are dealing with a 1D array. It's a 1D array, right? So x dot length is 3, but x0, which is 5 dot length, will give you the same problem. Okay, because x0 is the value 5, and it doesn't make sense to say 5 dot length. That doesn't make sense. Okay, if x0 is a string, 0 dot length makes sense. Okay, the number of characters in a string. Okay, back to this. So you have to understand the difference between a something dot length versus a dot length. A dot length in this case is not 8. A dot length is 4. Okay, so as far as the first dimension is concerned, there are only 4 elements. Okay, I want to introduce this method called flatten. It's very useful. Now A is a 2D array now. A dot flatten returns an array, a new array. It does not change the value of A. Okay, it returns an array with a 1D array with all the elements in a 2D array flattened. You know, it becomes. Now this does not change the value of A. If you want to change the value of A, you have to do a dot flatten exclamation mark. Okay, remember this is a destructive method. It changes the value of A, but let's not do that. So basically, it actually a dot flatten returns a new array with which is one dimensional in nature only. Okay, this becomes the first element, second element, third element, fourth element, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth element. It's a very useful method in certain circumstances. Alright, let's move on to another topic about 2D arrays, and this is interesting. 2D arrays can be jagged. Now, what does that mean? The 2D array which you have seen just now is a very nice table where the number of rows is consistent. I mean the number of columns for each row is consistent. The first row has two elements, second row has got 2 elements, the third row has got 2 elements, the last row has got 2 elements. Jagged, and the jagged array looks something like that. Okay, where the number of columns for each row may or may not be the same. So let me show an example here. Copy. Okay, and paste. So I've created an array called B, and look at how B is created. B0 has got 3 elements. B0 is an array with 3 elements. B1 is an array with 1 element. B2 is an array with 2 elements. Looks exactly like this. Okay, B0 is an array with 3 elements. B1 has only 1 value. B2, take note that B1 is an array with 1 element, and it's not -2 alone as a value. It's very different. What I'm trying to say is that this and these two statements are different. In this statement, B0 is an array, B1 is not an array. B1 is an integer, B2 is an array. Okay, different things altogether. In this case, all the elements in B, alright, are arrays. It's a very nice 2D array, jagged in nature. So back to here. Now, arrays can be jagged. So in this case, if the same rules apply. If I want to access elements inside here, I just B02. B02 should give me this one, 5. B20. B20 should give me 8. If I want to change the values, I can do that. Okay, see, I've managed to change B20 to 99 like that. Now in the previous example, A0.length, in this case, A0.length is the same as A1.length, same as A2.length, and same as A3.length. Now for jagged arrays, in this case, B0.length is 3, B1.length is 2, and B2.length is 2. Oh, I said something wrongly. B1.length is 1, B2.length is 2. Okay, so in this situation, B.length is 3, okay, because there are only 3 elements as far as the first dimension is concerned. B0.length is 3, because there are 3 elements in the first array. B1.length is actually 1, this one. And of course, B2.length is 2. Excuse me. This one, 2 elements in the third array. Okay, let me give an example of how to manipulate 2D arrays using loops. Let's assume that the job now is to go through all the elements in B and find the sum of all the elements. Now, one very simple way is to flatten B and just go through it. Okay, let me copy this again, because I changed the values, some values in B, right? Paste it here. Oops. Control C, paste. Now one way is to just B dot flatten, okay, and then I just do a B dot sum equals to 0, then B dot each. To remember what this does, sum plus equals to x, and the value of sum is 17. Alright, that's one way to do it, and of course B has changed because I've used the exclamation mark here, flatten exclamation mark. Now another way, if you want to do it using loops or nested loops, now this works. For I in 0 to B.length minus 1, B.length minus 1 is actually 3 minus 1, which is 2. And then here for j in 0 to bi.length minus 1. So during the first iteration, I'm dealing with 0 to b0.length minus 1. During the second iteration of the inner loop, I'm dealing with j in 0 to b1.length minus 1. During the third and last iteration, I'm dealing with j in 0 to b2.length minus 1. And I will just increase the value of sum by bij. Okay, of course, before this loop, I have to set sum to 0. So this works. This works as well, and you're probably expected to be able to read code like that, even if you don't want to do it this way. Okay, this is another way to do it using the each. Okay, understand that this is a 2D array, so b.each. Now during the first iteration, x here is going to point to this thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do with it, I'm going to do this. This is the block, the chunk of code, the block. So I have another each inside. So x here refers to this array. So x dot each y. Now y is the element inside. So I'm iterating through an iteration, something like a nested loop. So now y, what do? I add the value of y to sum. Okay, do you see that there's a there's an that basically are doing some nested stuff here. Okay, so try to understand this. It's easy to understand this if you break it down into these two parts. I've highlighted the block here. This is the inner, so-called the inner loop, and this is the outer loop. Okay,